Good morning, everybody. It's Ben Baker coming to you live from the YourLIVINGBrand.live show. Good morning. It's January 10th. It's 10 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. Welcome to the show. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ben Baker. My name and my company name is Your Brand Marketing. What we do is what we do is we teach, we consult, and we speak on brand, message, market, vision, and value. What we do is we get people to understand who you are, what you do, and why you do it. It's about getting people to understand your value. It's getting people to understand why they should care about you, why they should engage with you, and why they should spend their money with you. It's keeping you from being a commodity. It's keeping you from being another Me Too. It's keeping you from being in the situation where you're always having to reduce your pricing just to keep your customers and keep them happy. It's about letting your customers understand why you're valuable, why they should spend their money with you, and why they should care, and why you help them where other people can't. Now, this show is all about finding out about other companies. What do they do? Why do they do it? Who they do it for? And why people should care about them. Every company has a unique story. And this week is no exception. Daniel Bauer has a company called Better Leaders, Better Schools. He came from the education market. He's still in the education market. But what he's done is he's gone from being a teacher and an administrator to someone who coaches leaders within the education market of how to be better leaders. And you know what? What could be better? Teaching people how to teach and how to inspire others to be better. It's a great thing to be. Now, we've pre-recorded this episode. Sit back, enjoy, and I'll be back to talk to you once it's over. Welcome to this show. It is so great having you on the show, Daniel. Welcome from Antwerp. I can't believe last time I talked to you, you were in North America. So you've become a global citizen.
I have, and I've been traveling all over the place through Europe. Most recently, when we met, I was in Houston, Texas. But yes, I find myself in Antwerp, Belgium now. My wife's job moved us out here, and just enjoying the cultural experience for sure.
Well, that's the nice thing about what you do is that you can be a global citizen. Your business allows you to pick up anywhere you have an internet connection and anywhere you can plug in a laptop, you can work. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I work with clients on their vision story, and it's different than a vision statement. It encompasses more, right? And a lot of times we want to separate the personal and the professional, but I think that's a mistake because it impacts each other. And so we talk a lot about what we want out of our family time, our freedom, our own personal lives. And something that I was looking to in the not so distant future, I knew I wanted to run Better Leaders, Better Schools on a full-time basis. I thought that, honestly, Ben, 5 to 10 years, that was my timeline. And little did I know that it was really going to happen in like 6 months. So the door was open. I walked through it. It made sense and for a number of reasons. But I'm sharing this story because one of the things that I want to be able to do is to work from anywhere as long as I have a strong internet connection. And because my wife, she's a research scientist, she goes on a lot of different conferences and gives presentations. I had this romantic idea that if we could travel the world together and still work and generate, income, that'd be a wonderful thing. And so most recently, we were in Cape Town, South Africa. So yeah, I'm in Belgium now. We traveled to Cape Town, South Africa. I was running my coaching groups from the lobby of our hotel, and it was absolutely fantastic. So global citizenship is what I'm all about right now.
And it's interesting. I mean, and we'll get into the better leaders, better school, and that's a good thing. But it's interesting today that with technology, we can be pretty much anywhere. I mean, my clients, as your clients are across North America and getting to be global. And it's amazing that it's all about relationship, and it's all about trust, and it's all about being able to provide value. And if you can do that, it really doesn't matter where you are. You can really serve, and unless you're selling ice cream at the corner store, you can really serve clients that are anywhere, based on technology today. So let's get into this. I mean, as you know, and a lot of my, my listeners know, this show is all about what makes people unique, what makes people different. What is the story that people have to tell, and why do people care about it? So let's get into it. Let's talk about the Better Leaders, Better Schools, because, you are an educator. You came from being an educator, and, you started this podcast and you started this training program. And walk me through the journey. Walk me through the story.
Yeah, it starts off, in high school, I realized I really enjoyed helping people. And when I was working with my peers in study groups and I saw that metaphorical light bulb go off, I enjoyed that. I loved seeing people push through challenges and be able to solve interesting problems that they weren't able to do without my help, right? And so I knew that serving people was something I wanted to do. I think in some respects, unfortunately, I thought that was only through education, but I'm glad that I went down that path because here I am today. So, I wanted to serve, I wanted to help others. And what I love about education is you get to see the fruits of your labor almost immediately. And so as a classroom teacher for, over a decade, I would see if the kids got it, if they enjoyed what we were working on. They'd tell me straight up to my face, right? We love you, Mr. Bauer, or you're the worst teacher we've ever had. You get that instant feedback, and it's wonderful. Then I moved into school leadership, and it was a funny thing. I was working out with a friend, DeAndre Weaver, and we would, hit the weights. And he said, listen, I'm going over to this other school. I'm going to be a principal. I need people I can trust. And to tell you the truth, Ben, although I've had leadership roles prior to that, working at the district level, helping implement this program called AVID, or within the local schools and running departments or different programs, or even coaching sports, I didn't see myself as a school administrator. I love teaching. I was really good in the classroom. All it took was an invitation, and it changed my life. Ray said, listen, I think you have leadership skills. I've seen it, and I need people I could trust. I want you to join the team. Think about it, pray about it, etc. And so I did. And long story short, I joined his leadership team, became a school administrator, and then there's no looking back. But the way that Better Leaders, Better Schools was birthed, I was thrust into this leadership position then, and I didn't have the training, right? I had the heart. I knew deep down that I could be successful and I could serve people, but I didn't have answers to the questions, and I didn't have the better questions to ask. But even I didn't have those answers, And so what I set out to do was to interview people that had much more experience, that had learned lessons through the hardships, through failures, through challenges of leading in the school capacity. And I launched this podcast, Better Leaders, Better Schools, in September 2015. Well, the interesting thing is I was told just by putting out that show, right, and adding value that way, having the conversation, that all of a sudden my phone would be ringing off the hook, email inbox would be filled up, be getting all these, direct messages on Twitter, Instagram, etc., and people would see me as the expert. That's what happened. So because I showed up consistently every single week, put out a high quality show, the show's grown to #1 in iTunes for K-12 education. That's phenomenal. It's such a privilege now to serve school leaders in a free capacity through the podcast. And that's a bit of the journey of how I got there. But it started with the problem. I didn't know what I was doing, and I wanted to be more competent, and here we are.
Right. And it's amazing because there are thousands, if not millions of people with similar types of stories where they were really good at doing something, whether they be salesmen and going into sales management, whether there be workers going into a management role, whatever. And they were really good at what they did, and they get thrust into a management situation where, all of a sudden they're fish out of water. They're absolutely fish out of water where, they were really good at a skill, but leadership is a completely different set of things. Just because you're good at sales doesn't mean you're a great sales manager. And a lot of companies don't seem to understand that. And they don't invest in their people. They don't invest in the additional training that they need. They don't invest in the education and the seminars and the mentoring that it takes to move people to the next level. Because, you're taking somebody out of their pocket, out of something that they're comfortable with, something that they're really, really good at, and throwing them into a completely different set of skills. And some people thrive and some people fail. And a lot of it comes down to who you are and how much initiative you have to learn that new set of skills. So, it's an interesting thing that you're doing, because you're helping a lot of people take that transition and move from one place to another.
Yeah, and that really opened the door to the next iteration of Better Leaders, Better Schools. So having the podcast, doing a free show made a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. And I was having a lot of fun with it. But then people started asking to potentially coach them in a more formal relationship.
Right.
And at the time, I had joined something called a mastermind with Aaron Walker at View from the Top. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I just wanted to grow the show, right? I wanted to reach as many people as possible, get as many downloads, et cetera, et cetera. But what I experienced in the mastermind under his mentorship was so much growth, Ben, both personally and professionally. It's like lightning struck. You had that moment. And it's so funny because the answer's right here, right between the eyes, right in front of your face.
Well, that's when you don't see it. When it's right here, you can't see it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And so I started the show because I wanted better leadership training. And then I realized, okay, that's not enough. We need to go deeper. We need to get people to really explore what their fears are, to be authentic and vulnerable about their biggest obstacles and challenges. And if I was experiencing this much growth in a mastermind that was for entrepreneurs and podcasters and people like that,
right?
What if I brought this to the education industry? And like I said, that was like when lightning hit, and I thought about it and I reflected, okay, what have I really received leadership training wise in my industry? And the scary thing to admit, it's nothing. So going back to what you said, great salesmen, saleswomen don't make great sales managers.
Right.
Part of that is learning the transition. How do you work with people? How do you help them self-actualize, meet their biggest goals and dreams, and then connect that to the tasks that need to happen within your organization? There's no playbook for that. And then within the school system, what do you do when a kid gets shot and is murdered? How do you respond? They don't teach you that in graduate school, but that happens,
It absolutely does.
Yeah. So I saw my own growth, and I thought to myself, okay, the greatest enemy to excellence in leadership is isolation.
Right.
What if I connect leaders through the masterminds? We talk about this nitty-gritty stuff, and we rally around each other to support each other to be the best version of ourselves and ultimately serve our communities at the highest level possible. Mm-hmm. What if I started that? And it started, Ben, with early adopters, 7 of them. Right. 5 of those 7 became principals of the year, by the way. And it's grown to nearly about 40. So it's a small tribe that I have, but I love it, of people. And like you said, around the world, mostly in the US and Canada, but I have clients in Australia, China, and the Netherlands. And it's just great. We talk about leadership. We talk about education every single week. We dive deep into the problems, and we solve those problems on a weekly basis.
Well, the neat thing is, and this is something that I tell people every day, I can't change the world. What I can do is I can influence my corner of it. And that's what you're doing. You're taking 40 people, and as you said, 5 of them ended up being principal of the year. Those 40 people are influencing 40 people each, or 100 people each, or 500 people each. And those concentric circles keep going out and out and out. And sooner or later, someone there who you probably have never met, someone that you've never talked to, is going to do something phenomenal based on the chain reaction that you've started. And that's what it's all about. If we just say, I can't change the world. No, you can't change the world. But you can change your little corner of it and help other people, and move things forward. I'm a big believer of that. So kudos to you, because that's what it's all about.
You're absolutely right. I forget who the quote's from. It might be from Mother Teresa, but it has to do with, impacting within your sphere of influence, right?
Yeah.
Don't try to change the world. Try to change the person or the people around you. And honestly, when I coach people, you start with yourself first, you know? And so that's what I'm all about, like self-awareness, self-exploration, personal and professional development, starting with me. Then I turn outward, and it's a smaller group of people. The switch from classroom to school, the allure of it was, okay, instead of 100 kids, now I can impact maybe 1,000, right, within my school. And now instead of 1,000, the last school I led had 1,400 kids, grades 6 through 8. But instead of impacting those 1,400 with 40 clients, 1,000 each, let's say average, I've gone from 1,400 to 40,000, right? That's right. I'm sure that's an incredible return of investment in terms of if people implement and execute on what we talk about. So yeah, you start small, but it actually has a big ripple effect.
Oh, it has an enormous ripple effect. And that's the neat thing about education. I mean, what I love about this show is I learn more from my guests every week than I could anywhere else. You know, in the 20 or 25 minutes that I sit there and I talk to a different guest every week, I learn something different. Every guest has a unique thing that they're passionate about, a different way of looking at life, a different way of attacking a situation. And it's looking at that breadth of information over a period of a year or years that you learn. Because I learn as much as I teach. And I love that. And I love being in that situation where I can learn from others and my guests can learn from others, because everybody has something to teach us. Whether it's just a small little nugget or something huge and impactful, it doesn't matter. They all add up. And when you take all those little learning things and you add them together, that's where the magic happens.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I love that.
So, tell me about, I mean, I was lucky enough to be on your podcast, and I love your podcast. I think it's great. It's called Better Leaders, Better Schools. And whether you're an educator or not, sign up for it. There's some great tips and tidbits there. But what's the focus? Like when you're doing this, is it strictly about education? Is it, are you talking about high school education? Where is your jam? Where's your niche in this particular thing?
Yeah, definitely leadership and education across the board, pre-K through 12. My wife sometimes gets upset because she's like, okay, you're talking just leadership. Honestly, I will bridge the gap from what guests share and try to apply that to the education space. Right. But honestly, it's truly just a show about leadership, and we'll get into caveats about education. But to be honest, I had you on the show. You're a branding expert, right? Schools need to learn how to tell. Oh, absolutely. And schools need to learn from folks like you and how to be a chief storyteller as well. Yeah. So that their message that's so important can get out and be heard, right? It's one of these things, like, even if you do great work, if no one knows you're doing it, if no one is paying attention or listens, then how important is it? Exactly. So I'll talk to folks like you. The majority of my guests are outside of the education space, because I think a lot of times, it's probably true in many industries, you get these blinders on, you get this group think going, and everyone's starting to regurgitate all the same stuff. So if you're in your education, you're going to hear a lot about personalized learning or standards-based grading. And that's what's cool right now. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm not trying to judge it. I'm interested if we'll be talking about those things in 5 years or 10 years. Right. But at the end of the day, if I'm talking to you about branding, if I'm talking to somebody over here, maybe how they generated millions, billions of dollars of revenue, or recently I had a guy who founded Yammer, and now is in the education space with master scheduling. So what can you learn from a startup culture, right? And bring that to the education space, and how to be agile and how to use design thinking and all this kind of stuff. So, I'm very interested from learning from others. And yeah, we talk leadership. We also talk a bit about education, but I guess that's my jam. I hope I answered your question there.
Oh yeah. And you also are inspiring the next generation of leaders, by giving them opportunity to say, look, the education that you're providing tells people that there's opportunity, and to look, to look far and look wide, because you never know. Like, I don't know about you. When I was in high school, I had not a clue what I was going to do. I mean, my degree,
still don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up.
Political science, international relations. I mean, I'm a marketing guy. I'm a storyteller. There's probably a link between those 2 points somehow. I still haven't figured it out. But all it is time. And I love the fact that you never know what the next opportunity coming down the pipe is. You just got to be open to it. You got to have your ears open, your eyes open, and be able to sit there and say, why not? Why not look at this next opportunity? Why not think about it? Why not jump? And then, you know what? We'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's a really solid point. And what I do now at Better Leaders, Better Schools is open up doors to things I didn't even know was possible. So I've designed a life. I'm living a life that I didn't know was possible, right? But by participating in that mastermind of View from the Top, what I realized is that small business owners, they have really awesome solutions to challenging and interesting problems.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to work with people a lot of times. They have no idea how to manage or lead others. And that's what you do as a teacher at the core. And then what I did as a school administrator. They don't know how to teach, right? They just have this awesome solution, product or service. And so I've been able to now coach small business owners as well. I didn't know I'd be doing that, 6 months ago. But just by being me, doing Facebook Lives about education, about leadership, small business owners that I knew, and we had a relationship, so key, relationship and trust. They reached out, they said, would you coach me now on some of this stuff? I think it would help my business. And so we designed, a strategy, a plan to help them out. And now I'm serving small business owners. Who would have ever guessed that? I have no idea. But another thing too, Ben, is like, with Better Leaders, Better Schools and the productivity stuff, I'm thinking, okay, for school leaders, right? And so I had a few people invest in this course recently for productivity. And so part of the bonuses they get is a one-on-one coaching call, right? And so I did one recently with this guy, Jason. And I'm ready to talk to somebody middle-aged, leading a school for years, and let's figure out how to help him be more productive, right?
Right.
And we flip on the Zoom call, and it's a 19-year-old kid staring at me from some college in Iowa, and I'm thinking, what the heck? How did this happen? But you were talking about, pouring into the next generation of leaders and that sort of thing. And I didn't realize just being out there, doing Facebook Lives, YouTube, the podcast, Instagram stories, all these type of things, I'm attracting people that I didn't even realize were a part of my tribe and impacting their lives. This is so amazing. I mean, I just absolutely love it.
Well, what you're teaching people is that communication is vitally important. And you do that through demonstrating. You do that through your podcast, through your webinars, or this, that, and everything. Is that being able to communicate your message is critical for success. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a Fortune 100 company or if you're a startup, working out of your mom's basement. If you can't articulate what makes you different, what makes you valuable, and to whom, if you don't know who your audience is and why they should care about you, it doesn't matter what you sell or what your service is. If people don't care about you, they're not going to buy, and they're not going to engage. And it's inspiring people to think that, there's a story to tell, and you got to figure out what your story is to tell, to be able to sit there and say, this is why you should care about me, because I figured out something that's going to help you be better. And that's those are the great things. And I love seeing that within your show.
Thank you.
Cool. So I got one last question for you, and then I'm going to let you go. Now, when you sign off the air, when you leave your mastermind class, when you walk away from things and you close everything down, usually I tell people when you get in your car and you drive away, but we'll work the analogy the way it is. What's the one thing you want people to think about Daniel Bauer when you walk out and what you do when you're not in the room?
I hope they had a sense of how much I cared about them as individuals. In this, I could see a thread from what I do now to when I was a classroom teacher. And it was, this idea of what are these strategies and exercises I can do to really understand everybody at a very individual and human level, and what makes them tick. And not only that, I try to express that compassion and caring through zooming out with our lens and realizing that this challenge and obstacle we're discussing through the coaching relationship, it's not gonna be around probably next week or in a month or definitely in a few years.
Right.
And so what's really most important right now? So I hope, in addition to that compassion, I offered some type of perspective that helped people connect with things that truly matter, with their family, if there's a spiritual component, with themselves, and what type of just personal goals that they have. We're all going to die. That's a fact. Nobody's figured out how to, get around that one yet. And so it's like thinking about even your funeral, who do you want to show up and what do you want them to say about you? And a lot of times when folks are freaking out about this issue at work and they want to spend more money or more time to try to solve this problem, are people going to show up at your funeral and be like, Ben, I'm so happy you worked like 70 hours straight.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I try to give them that perspective, think a little outside of the box, and really demonstrate some empathy and compassion while doing that.
And that's huge. So I'm going to leave it there. Hang out in the green room for a second. I'm just going to say goodbye to everybody, and I'll be right back. Thanks for being on the show, Daniel.
Ben, thanks for inviting me. I do so many shows as a host, and I try to just ask a lot of questions and listen, but I love being able to be on a folk show like yours and just to be able to share. So thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit of what I'm about. Thank you.
All right, take care. Hang on one second. I'll be right back. So thank you very much for listening to another edition of the YourLIVINGBrand.live show. Daniel was a great guest. He is all about understanding the potential of people and helping getting the best out of them. It's an amazing thing. Now, next week is going to be a different week. January 17th, 2018, I am going to be down in Vegas. I'm actually speaking at the Promotional Marketing National Exhibition on being unique in a cookie cutter world. And I'm speaking on Monday. But Wednesday, I'm going to be live from the show floor. We're going to do this thing a little differently. I'm going to be doing this on Facebook Live. You can always find me at Your Brand Marketing on Facebook. And at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, I will be live from the show floor of the Pacific Promotional Product Association International trade show. There's 1 million square feet. There's 3,000 or more vendors. And there's 13 and a half miles of show floor. It's all about finding different, unique, and interesting items to be able to tell your story in a way that's unique to you, that's on brand, and valuable to your clients. Now, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, my company is Your Brand Marketing. What do? We consult, we teach, and we speak on brand message, market, vision, and value. We help you understand who you are, what you do, why you do it, who you do it for, and figure out ways that you can let people know why they should care. It's all about getting people to engage and understand. Come talk to us. We'd love to see you. It's www.yourbrandmarketing.com. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week from Las Vegas.